Hello, my name is Thomas King from the Bergen County Academy's FFA chapter in northern New Jersey. But, of course, before I joined FFA, I was a scuba diver, and I got the opportunity to see many beautiful coral reefs from around the world. But one thing that I learned very early on in this journey is that coral reefs are dying at an ever increasing rate every year. A couple years ago, I got the opportunity to talk to Mr. Aaron Hunt, who's the leader of the coral reef restoration effort in Grand Cayman. I asked him, since I was entering my school's Agriscience program, what are some gaps we have in the scientific collective regarding the factors that are destroying reefs? And he said sunscreen. Now, over the past few years, several reef based local governments have been banning sunscreens that contain particles, UV blockers, which have been deemed unsafe for coral reefs. Now, is this true? My first challenge was finding research on the topic. There is not a lot of literature, but I was able to find one Italian research group led by Dr. Donavaro and Dr. Cornadalesi. Um, so I reached out to them, and I had some questions about how they quantified their results and some specifics about their experimental design. They were very nice. They gave me a free copy of their paper, but they were a little bit less keen on revealing the specific experimental design. Um, However, I was able to reach out to some American researchers who were very, very helpful. Rachel Wright from Boston University, Hannah Reich from Penn State, and Tyler Harmon from Grand Valley State University. All of them responded back to me with great insight on my experimental design and how to care for my organisms. The organisms of which I worked with were Acropora, a subspecies that I had never worked with before, so raising them was definitely a challenge for me. But of course, this is a source of limitation in my paper. I only looked at one, probably one even genotype of a single species of coral. I tested the effects of the most popular inorganic, quote unquote, reef safe UV blocker and the most popular organic, quote unquote, reef unsafe UV blocker at the concentrations of each found near reefs, near public beaches. Again, a source of limitation. I only tested separately the two most popular UV blockers in each category, not all UV blockers that are used in all sunscreens. The next challenge I ran into was how to quantify my results. I was going to look at coral mortality. How do each increase or decrease coral mortality compared to the others? And of course, it's easy to tell when a coral is dead in the wild. It looks white. Of course, we call this bleached. But how to actually look at this from a mathematical, numerical standpoint was a little bit tricky. I learned a little bit about how computers process colors, so I could use colorimetric analysis. One of my research advisors recommended that I use the application ImageJ, which I had never used before, but it was very, very helpful once I actually learned how to use it to process photos. I used colorimetric analysis to determine throughout the experiment if my coral organisms in each group were looking more or less like dead, like their dead specimen counterpart. I also got to learn about SEM microscopy, which I had never ventured near before in my scientific career, but learning about it and working with the machinery really helped me analyze my specimens once the experiment was over and I could make sense of my results. Now, as to the actual results, the average results of the subjects confirmed the hypothesis that the reef-safe blockers are indeed, in fact, safer than their non-reef-safe counterparts. There was less of a deterioration of coral health throughout the experiment for the reef-safe blockers group. But deviation from all pools in every group greatly reduces confidence that the average results are in fact the true values. SEM analysis also greatly hinders confidence as no particles of sunscreen were actually found on the coral themselves. Lack of precision indicates that more data needs to be collected to make any sort of conclusive statement about the hypothesis. And colorimetric analysis may not be the best because of the standard deviation between the results. Now, why does this matter? Well, globally, reefs serve as the cornerstone of marine ecosystems. They only make up about 1% of the ocean's surface area, but they contain over a quarter of marine life. And understanding which actions that us as consumers and politicians take are helpful is an important component of scientific communication which has immediate implications on the health of Earth's oceans.